curve, whereas Fled has more power if he's able to take the board and more powerful swing turns because of the double broomstick as opposed to single.
And this strikes me as the sort of deck that Briarthorn will love, because there's a basis that he can build around. He can have his theme that you like to talk about. But he can also like tweak around with all the bits and pieces and go in there. Do I want a safety inspector? Do I not? It's nothing new, but there's a lot of synergy and curve stuff. Like you say, his deck is designed to be more consistent. Fled is designed to basically be more anti-control, but Briarthorn loves a bit of consistency.
Yeah, and he keeps safety inspector, which is I mean, I guess it's all right, right? It's a well-statted minion for 1 cost. It's just, you know, sometimes he may be throwing back something that he doesn't necessarily want to if he, you know, picks up something, right? Like the coin. Maybe that's all right.
I'm just waiting for him to draw 2 9-drops and have to shuffle the Kazakas back into his deck.
Yeah.
One of the issues with this deck, of course, is we saw it in Europe in particular. It can just sometimes draw so much rubbish that you don't really have a game. And part of me expects this game to go really quickly, where one person just blows the other off the board because they don't get a curve. But that's looking like it won't happen now, with both players actually having decent things to do for the first few turns.
Yeah. Some reasonable curves. Fled picks up some quality minions from first day of school. Things with additional effects beyond just their stats, right? Wand Thief being quite an impactful one as well. But just going to go ahead and play the 2-drop here. Earlier you can play it, usually the better, just to start pulling cards from your deck that you don't really necessarily want to draw.
Yep. And Fled's given up on impersonating people this week. There's no way that Fled can do a Briarthorn, because that would involve him not being emotive for an entire 2 or 3 hours. And that's not the Fled way. Quite a contrast in personality this season between these two.
That's right. Fled normally very expressive. Okay, so Rune Orb's interesting. Gives you damage plus the ability to discover a paladin spell, which, you know, hit or miss, right? You can get some additional secrets. Alternatively, you can get just like buffs. He has board right now. It's likely that he's going to have board for a little bit of time. So if he's able to, you know, find some buffs in this situation, could be quite beneficial.
Yeah, I'm just trying to have a look here to see how the tempo is going to work out. And it does feel to me like Briarthorn, it's going to depend a lot on what 5-drops he gets from his Kazakus already.
Yeah.
Fled's kind of stuck. Like, no, now he's not. He was getting kind of stuck down with his hand being too expensive, but obviously now he can do what he likes. There's no AoE for Paladin, so you just dump this lot on the board and build it all up.
Okay. Well, my Yogg after coin is being played. Pretty decent. Outside of secrets, not that many spells in Paladin, so it'll stick around for a while and usually be quite impactful.
Briarthorn just taking the most attack he feels he can off the board. He's going to go for these 5s. Rush seems nice. Divine Shield seems nice. Poison's nice if you want to gamble on shooting things with damage.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a wide board, which is the only issue. Or he can assume it's going to be a wide board by the time he plays it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh. They wrote Wisdom. Seems too expensive.
It does.
Because you're never going to be able to discount it. It's not Libram Paladin, it's not Paladin. You don't play True Seekers. You don't play anything Aldor.
But your opponent just played a Kazakus. And you've got a board of 1/1s coming up next turn. Maybe it's okay. Oh, he actually got the really good one.
Yeah. This will be a clear. Until...
Ta-da! Surprise! Clear this with the broom and the Libram.
I wonder.
There's some merit here to just playing Dragon Ball Skystalker. Just so he can corrupt the Carousel Griffin.
Mm-hmm.
And then that played with the broom actually is pretty insane.
I wonder.
Okay.
Because you can rush it in with Divine Shield. But he doesn't have another 1-drop to like go along with it, which is the problem. I don't think it's like that like important of a problem, but it also lines up well against the board. The only issue is like he's giving up these Murlocs to be traded off and could fall far behind. Nah, he's just gonna go for it. All right.
Very tough turn. Had to think about all of those factors there.
Yep.
But he is willing to save his broom, so he's kind of splitting the difference a little bit there, which is cool. Of course, obviously this now, who cares about a 3-1 Kazakas? It's not rogue, you don't have to take it off the board, it's just a 3-1 now. This is the mini punish.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay. This was a good setup because now he gets to play Dragon Ball Skystalker on an empty board and then still hold on to Broom, still hold on to the Carousel Griffin. I like this a lot.
Griffin is going to be a problem. What if this was
probably going to be playing his own Dragon Ball Skystalker here, I imagine.
Yeah, I wonder if this was a safety inspector turn. Just get rid of that and try and draw something else.
Yeah. Oh, it looks like he's still going to go for it.
Okay.
Unless he thinks Reckoning could be decent. Yeah.
So he has the Alex and Fled is on 13. This is a notable point. It's not huge because they've both got Alex, but you know, Fled has used his health as a resource. So he does have to basically take no more damage, but he has managed to use that resource to get himself a huge board. Well, a large board. Huge is a little bit over the top, but we've talked about it. There's not many ways to remove things in Paladin other than with your own things.
Yeah, sometimes you draw it right away.
We'll fight back these
Yeah.
The victory is yours.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, that was a probably the quickest game we're going to see this series. Briarthorn realizing he's pretty much fallen too far behind on board. And when you're playing a deck like that where a mirror matchup, you don't have that many comeback mechanics onto the board outside of animated broomstick, it can be a little difficult from that situation to come back. So Briarthorn just fallen a little bit too far behind, and then it snowballed from there. So nice first game from Fled. There was really just a couple like meaningful decisions, but made the right choice when it mattered in that situation. So has a 1-0 lead. And now Briarthorn probably starting to see his chances slipping away. But we have plenty more series left to play. A lot of decisions still to be had in this series of Hearthstone. Let's just put it this way.
Absolutely. That was just the starter to get us ready for the main course that is going to be slowly delivered over the next sort of 7 or 8 weeks, months, hours, who knows. The main thing in that game seemed to be just the deck building, like 2 broomsticks versus 1 seemed to be the big deal. it allowed Fled to trade on his terms because he had a Broomstick and Briarthorn did not. So when there's no removal spells, if you get the choice of attack with your minions you just played, you're in a really powerful, strong position.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Blood gonna move to Control Priest. Imagine we're gonna see Briarthorn still stick to the N'Zoth Paladin, just because I do feel like it's well positioned, has a lot of big threats to go up against some of these control decks that are left. A lot of longevity in the matchup, or in the matchups that remain. But we shall see. Fled playing a little bit of a greedier variation of Control Priest. Has Cthulhu in there, has a lot of the big dragons, Onyx Mage Scribe, and Ysera. I was about to say in main deck, just out of habit. in regards to specialists. But okay, looks like we're just going to get the Control Priest mirror out of the way early on. I'm okay with it.
Yep, I'm good.
Come to terms with it.
Just get them done. We're used to having 1 or 2 a week. We can have a good discussion about our previous 100 years of existence or whatever, and maybe look at a bit of Hearthstone along the way. They're different builds. Like, we're going to get to see this N'Zoth build that we very rarely see in Americas in particular, and the value build. But I want the Cthulhu every day of the week in a priest mirror. I don't care what your other card is, unless you're jamming like 7 massive things. I just want my Cthulhu because it gives me a plan, and it gives you you're always defending against my plan. My plan is to Cthulhu you. That's it. It's a great plan. And you've got to mess around wondering whether to mind render to try and get rid of a piece. You've got to do so many things. And at the end of the day, your N'Zoth is kind of garbage because I'm just going to soul mirror most of those things anyway.
Yeah, that's true. The one equalizer is probably the South Sea Scoundrels, right? Because maybe Briarthorn can pull some value cards out of Fled's deck while also equalizing fatigue to an extent, right? Of course, he's not going to make up for the fact that there's 4 Cthulhu pieces, and then a Cthulhu once they've all been played. But could make up a little ground and maybe apply some pressure and fatigue. But he's also got much less value. He is not playing Onyx Mage Scribe since he's playing the N'Zoth variation. The N'Zoth variation does seem like a better version of the deck when you're playing on ladder. But it oftentimes, in a tournament format where the expected field is quite a bit different, right? It's more concentrated. I do think I like the quote-unquote traditional list that we see from priests with Cthulhu, with a little bit more of that greed and control in the late game.
I feel that Fled all season has, even when it's gone wrong for him, which it has on occasions, it does with this style of player who brings their own thoughts. But I feel that in general he's always called things well, like putting Cthulhu in his priest. I feel that he really gets tournament play, and that the Grandmasters is really suiting how his style is, because it's his first season. He's entitled to be a little bit nervous, and he was a little bit nervous, but all of his decisions outside of the game seem to have been really good ones.
Yeah, there was like 1 or 2 weeks where he probably made the wrong call, but it's hard to say that because you're not playing against the whole field at the start. You're playing against your group, so if you don't make a good call for your group, you don't get to see how it matches up against the rest of the field. And that happened to him once or twice. But yeah, I do agree. I think that Fled has had some of the best lineups week after week, and we'll see if that's the case this week. There's a lot more players bringing control, but we'll see how things pan out.
But even then, he's got Cthulhu in his warrior, he's got Cthulhu in his priest, even with other people bringing control. That's a decent starting point.
Sure, yeah.
To play the mirrors, he's got the mirrors kind of covered for the sake of 1 card.
And he's got Warlock in his lineup, which most of the players that are bringing full control lineups do have Warlock, so it's not like, oh my gosh, he's a genius, he brought Warlock this week. Mm-hmm. No, it just fits with what his lineup's trying to do. But Fled in a great position, like we said in this matchup. More value. Again, Briarthorn has a lot more minions in the deck. Minions like Light Shower Elemental that you really don't have too big of a place in the matchup other than kind of being big threats. But it 1-for-1's an Onyx Mage Scribe, which is played pretty much on the same turn. And Onyx Mage Scribe also has the benefit of giving you even more value. So,
but this is brutal. Briarthorn went for that Apotheosis because he decided this is the time. Like, you can save that until you're copying the minion or something on the same turn. But he decided he needs to get the tempo. He's facing that Cthulhu, blah, blah, blah. And it just got removed basically for free in terms of value and for very, very cheap in terms of mana. And gives Fled a very good start. Obviously, it's a long way to go. We know this with Priest Mirrors. Briarthorn's got a fantastic curve the next 2 or 3 turns. But that's a terrible start for Briarthorn, because he does need to at least keep some semblance of value up.
The path is clear.
yep, one for one. It's an Onyx Mage Scribe, like I said, except one gives you 2 spells and one doesn't.
I want to not Apotheosis this. I want to use my death, I think. Maybe you want to save it for later. But keep my 4x minion on the board, because TJ's power word 4 has not existed in Hearthstone yet, so...
It's not our card yet. Yet! I still have hope.
They'll do
at
it
some
one
point.
day. Try a do-it-yourself Ysera. Then realizes that he's got a Sethek in the graveyard, so he's just going to go a bit slower with his spells. No reason to target anything with a spell when you haven't got a Sethek in your hand or on the board.
Briarthorn's just on the game plan of, yeah, I'm gonna kill a thing I'm gonna play a thing every turn.
Yeah.
And Flood's like, I'm gonna play a thing that gives me 2 more things, and then I'm gonna play another thing that replaces itself and gives me a different thing, and then I'm gonna have a board, and I'm also gonna have
I must consider
Stuff in hand.
stuff, a full hand essentially.
And
Every
look at the
single
hand size
turn.
difference. The board's identical, basically, give or take. Give me some artistic license on that one. And Fled just has more stuff in hand. In theory, it's a slightly weaker hand because Briarthorn's cards are okay, but really, Briarthorn doesn't have a play next turn when you look at it a bit closer.
Yeah.
Fled holding back on that silence last turn has paid off massively here as well.
Yep. Gives a nice clean clear of the board.
Meanwhile, Briarthorn's decision to play Apotheosis 3 or 4 turns ago has worked out quite badly.
Yep.
I wonder.
I think
Not saying it was wrong, by the way.
Leave this as is and not do anything.
Yeah. But the trouble with that is you might be doing nothing again next turn. I don't like this Hysteria, though. I don't feel like this is a good enough tempo play. You're not really... What are you saying to Fled here, other than I'm in trouble? That may have been a turn to gamble, like you saying, maybe do nothing. Then your Hysteria this turn would have been so much better.
Yeah. The way his deck is built, though, he kind of just needs to make plays like this and just hope that it gets there awkwardly enough.
Yeah, he's a huge underdog in this mirror match, weirdly, just because the decks don't line up very well. Fled's also cleverly not drawn any of his Cthulhu pieces, so he's been able to play the game like normal. And this is the one test. Can he get through it? That's the N'Zoth gone. This is the only value card in the game. If this gets cleared up rapidly, then Fled's almost home free. You're never home free as Priest because they generate so much stuff, but as good as you could hope for after 9 turns.
Yeah.
I wonder.
Well, it does have some ways to deal with this. He could go Heart of Cthulhu and then, like, Holy Smite. And then take a trade over the Proto Drake. None of them are super efficient, though. He could go Sethic Holy Smite and then see what happens. But at that point, I don't even know what you'd smite. Because there's no clean clears anywhere on the board. With the cards he has in hand, he'd have to rely on what he gets from the Sethic. But he's running out of time.
Be too greedy, right? Gets rid of this, he wins the game, so... In a massive, generalised terms, of course. But yeah, this is okay. You can take 8, who cares? Remember, he struggled last week. He couldn't find a Shadow Word Death for like 7 turns and ended up losing. So, a little bit of flashbacks might be occurring for him here. Oh!
You don't pick the wops.
Again, big thing every turn. Sometimes it gets there.
Yep.
The path is clear for the worthy.
Still some possibilities, though, with Venomous Scorpid. It's now turn 10. Oh, it's so good.
He really needed that because Briarthorn was on the verge of locking it out with Elucia. Next turn, just do the switch and give him a load of rubbish.
Yeah, that actually... Okay.
He's just going to tonk him.
Twice.
Get tonked. Don't care about your minion. I've got tonks. This was unexpected.
It's gotta be Draconic Studies. I think he just needs... Oh, okay. Oh, actually, this is interesting because of... Cursed Vigilant? Something like that. I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't actually remember the name. It's a great arena card.
They're the cards I never know the names of also. Alright, there's all this stuff going.
Okay. I mean, decent outcome. He gets to keep the 2 stealth minions, and last card, Elucia, is not bad, right? Because you're, like you said, you're just swapping, and you're not really leaving anything for your opponent to play.
Absolutely.
Second Condemn.
Needed that so badly. I'm not sure that was deliberate. Maybe it was. He's shaking his head as if he forgot the interaction, that it would basically sort it out. But yeah. Now Briarthorn's doing this for a totally different reason. He's not closing out the game. He's just looking for some gas.
Yeah, honestly, I like the Venomous Scorpid more than I like these things.
Yeah, I agree.
Weirdly enough. Not that he could have known that, right?
Yeah, I mean, he either gets things he can play or he hits an Asira and slows Fled down a turn, and both those two things, when you can't see the hand, probably feel fairly attractive to you compared to a Scorpid.
Yeah.
But I agree, the Scorpion's got more potential if you can actually see the hands than the garbage that he ended up getting. Which is why everyone loves balanced Mind Render Elucia with all the cut and thrust of play that comes from it.
Is that really true?
No. But I love it.
You would.
Mm-hmm.
You just would. All right, well, I mean, both players have empty hands, but Flood has a Sethic on board. That's not a good draw.
No.
Because he picked the Focus Will purposefully to leave Briarthorn with a card that was very difficult to use.
Why are we watching a Priest Mirror where both players got 2 cards in hand and they're both rubbish? What's happening, TJ?
Oh, okay. All right. That is certainly stuff. I will accept stuff as a word.
Good.
Wait. Is it?
Stuff's a word, yeah.
Is Focus Will ever the Sethic there? I know the Poisonous will kill the Sethic. He didn't have knowledge of the Wave of Apathy yet.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I guess it was. It was correct.
Okay.
Because he can't kill it.
Sure.
I mean, it's results oriented, correct.
That's the best kind of correct. You can't be results orientated in a game with results, TJ. When can you be?
Result oriented correct is my favorite kind of correct.
Oh my. His power play of a turn.
Alright, he needs a targeted spell off the top. Renew. Boom!
That's a targeted spell.
Yeah, that's not the one he was looking for, though.
No, he's lost now, I think. I'm going to try and talk about how he can win, obviously, but he's lost.
Alright, let's take a look at the deck. Let's dig Briarthorn out of this hole.
Alright.
As Venomous Scorpion, Palm Reading, Wand Maker, Renew, Raise Dead, Sethics. I mean, he's got a lot of things that generate stuff.
South Sea Scoundrel. If you can't use your own good cards, use Fled's.
Yeah, but then Flood also gets those good cards.
Yeah, details. But look what's happening. I don't know.
Okay, Palm Reading. Step 1.
Sure.
Step 2 is probably a Draconic Studies and get a Deathwing, because he doesn't have any cards anyway.
Oh dear. Ray's dead because I need a minion in this situation. Okay.
Minion. Okay.
Clears. Because he's got the plague.
Not always.
It'll clear. It's fine.
Oh, no. Yeah, no, not always. He can't fit in the hero power.
Yeah, it'll be fine. He'll find a way. Oh.
Oh, he's gonna get greedy with it. Oh, yeah.
So this Proto Drake's going to get deathed, then he's going to plague, and then he's going to hope that the Proto Drake doesn't drop something big. Whew.
Okay.
Wait, twice and...
Well, no, he's got 6. It's a clear no matter what now, because he can use the hero power this turn. That's 4 healing, AoE, 6. Bada bing, bada boom.
Just the one lives. He hit it once. He tried. Yeah, Fled's actually using Insight, which he wouldn't normally use in the mirror, but he's so far ahead in fatigue. He just wants to end it, and this kind of ends it.
Essentially, yeah. Still some weird chances for Briarthorn to win.
Briarthorn having another Elucia kind of makes things strange.
I mean, it makes things awkward for sure. Okay.
Fled's first reaction of the night, he's not impressed with this possibility. He just wants Briarthorn to stop doing this.
He can dream the Ysera back to his hand.
Yep. Got to dump the Nightmare, because otherwise 8 health is going to not last him very long.
Okay, and then can dump the Emerald Drake and Laughing Sister. He could have Lucia back, but I think he's fine with the outcome. Because if Fled just... actually, I don't know. That's a tough question.
That's the Cthulhu.
Oh, he dumps a Cthulhu piece. Okay, no, yeah. Well, I mean, that doesn't really matter, right? He's so behind in fatigue that the actual Cthulhu doesn't seem like it's going to be a win condition, right? He's only played, what? He would have played 2 of the pieces so far, so it's still a long ways away.
No, you're right, yeah. absolutely.
He will die in fatigue way before Cthulhu becomes an issue. I mean, maybe for like a board clear.
So, I mean, Fled's still in that strong position. He knows there's no major threats to come. He's just got to not die. That's kind of been the whole game, but Briarthorn has concocted a way to make it last one more turn, which is kind of interesting.
Must consider.
Fled's going to get an Awakens back next turn. That's a big deal.
But the dream is eternal.
Yeah.
Not too quickly.
Because he never has to stick a board. It's only Briarthorn that ever has to stick a board.
Yeah. Flood can play reactively for the remainder of the game and be perfectly fine if it comes to a fatigue match.
Okay.
I don't even know what I'm looking for here. Renew.
You're just looking.
I mean, I guess he's almost dead. He's actually just
Yeah.
need help.
Draconic Studies is always the answer to that question if you're not sure, I think.
Yeah, and Renew can be a Draconic Studies,
We're playing
or it can be one of these.
Degrees of Draconic Studies. Flash heal makes the torture last a bit longer.
Apotheosis as well. Apotheosis is decent.
Quickly.
He needs, like you said, he needs to stick a board to win somehow. But all things considered, a pretty lackluster turn. As far as like development goes.
I had to be careful. He knew about this. He knew about this Awakens, so he's kind of had to delay. I was wondering why he didn't play the South Sea, but that'll be why.
Yep.
But he dies in 2 turns. Is Fled looking to play his own game-closing illusion? I don't think he's going to actually do it, but I think he's trying to work out how he could have done it. That makes sense.
Yeah, he's giving over Hysteria, which I think is like the big thing that's stopping him from that.
Yeah.
Of course, he could like just keep a single minion on board and then use the Elusia at a certain point. But then like Body of Cthulhu and Hysteria would be a clear on the other side. So it wouldn't be a game closing thing, and he doesn't want to give Briarthorn value from his cards.
Yep.
All right.
Probably the best pick, but again, it's just like, it's no use to Briarthorn to keep clearing the board. He needs a wave of attackers to get the job done. Obviously, he's got to clear the board for them to stick. He's in a lot of trouble here. Obviously, from Fled's perspective, he's got to be careful. Some sort of Draconic Studies nonsense could just still put him in a spot of bother.
Is there trouble?
Spot of bother.
Have you seen? You've seen sort of obviously a lot more of Fled than me, with me being just a part-timer. But have you seen any signs that Fled distracts himself with all of his sort of antics, or
No.
they seem to be separate from his play?
No, only if he gets blasted into oblivion by bad outcomes. Then sometimes he seems to just autopilot, but for the most part, no.
Cool, that's good to hear.
His antics are pretty limited, right? You know, he usually just has something on his head and or face. You know, it's not like he's trying to play blindfolded, hanging upside down
In a cat onesie.
in a cat onesie while, you know, eating sushi, right? It's not as convoluted as that.
I'd like to see someone try that now. Maybe Monsanto.
Well, it's a shame because he's not going to be playing and he's probably not going to be in playoffs, so.
Bad choice. I mean, Language Hacker did a pretty good job of it, to be fair, with the cat onesie. Sorry, I'm talking about cat onesies because It's either that or this game of Hearthstone.
Yeah, when you're in the losing position as far as fatigue and just overall deck goes, these are not the kind of turns you want to be forced to make. They'd get a Zoth back, though, which could be a big deal, especially at this point. A lot of different tribes have died. Depends on like the dragon he gets back, I suppose. No.
No, you need about 100 mana to be one off with switching to steal the Apotheosis. Fled. It doesn't matter, Fled. You're winning by every single metric that is possibly to metric in the whole of Hearthstone here.
Yep.
All right. Well, he gets this last board to clear. The Raise Dead on the N'Zoth is something that isn't going to make a difference. Worth seeing these interactions because there's Control Warrior still to come in a moment. So, this would be a bit better against that in that regard.
I must consider.
No lethal here. Somehow he'd have to get through the Light Shower Elemental and then deal the Eye of continued damage to face, which just won't work, so...
I was hoping that was going to hit the same thing twice.
I know, I was like...
Because the only thing that's going to beat Fled here is himself, and he seems completely in control.
Almost out of cards.
One card left for Briarthorn, and it is... Wait, what?
Needs another Raise Dead, doesn't he, to have a chance?
I think it's Soulmere. But because Mind Runner Lucio gets real wonky with the deck tracker, it could be Soulmere or Hysteria, but I'm pretty sure it's Soulmere.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen one. We'd have seen a weird board state at some point, and we haven't, I think. No Raise Deads there.
Nope.
Shadow Form him. 15 turns of your finest hero powers.
Not too quickly.
Briarthorn's like, yep, that's it. That's what I got. Deal with it or don't.
He can steal a card. He can switch the hands. He's got a 3/6 poison and a 2/3 thing. Here at Radio Hearthstone.
Okay.
I'm out of cards.
Oh, it was Hysteria. All right, I was wrong.
No.
Said-
The tracker was.
Well, I did say Hysteria or Soulmere, so...
I'm with you.
Just to clear the record here, I was only 50% wrong.
Is it another N'Zoth?
Oh!
You can do this.
All right. He's in fatigue, but... And not much health to work with.
And unfortunately for him, what's going to happen is he's going to N'Zoth. Fled's going to have no answer. Fled's going to panic and play Lucia and find the Shadow Word Ruin.
Or maybe Briarthorn is just gonna do it. Nah, he would never. Actually, maybe, because he wants to set up for N'Zoth. Okay, never mind. He's just gonna...
Oh, no. Fled doesn't know about the ruin. Fled's going to panic Elucia here, assuming he doesn't find an answer. And the panic Elucia is going to win him the game. If he thinks, like, this is the one I was talking about, I hope this doesn't affect his mentality. Because he might find a history.
Oh, okay, never mind.
He's good. He's good. He doesn't need to do the thing.
Briarthorn didn't even react.
Does he ever?
Yeah, sometimes.
I wonder if there was a world where Briarthorn shouldn't have played us off that turn and just tried to eke it out over two waves. Easy for me to say, but he knows there's an Elucia. He's turned Fled into a wreck. This game of Hearthstone that looked like it was so straightforward for so long. Like, Fled's just gone. He's talking to himself and like, what's happening? I'm getting Briarthorn so hard.
Holy Nova, Shadow Form, and Dupe. Alright. I mean, this was weird.
Commence the damage.
I guess just emptying a card from his hand?
Yeah, yeah.
Because he knows he's going to Elucia?
Yep.
But there's just no way he gets there. Flood, the quality of Flood's hand is just not good enough for Briarthorn to be able to take it and win, I don't think.
Elucia into Scorpion into... something.
Psychic Scream.
I'm almost out of cards.
Fled hasn't got much left himself, actually. If Briarthorn steals the Tonk, what happens? Fled needs... right? Yeah.
I mean, Briarthorn's fatigue is starting to tick up. He's already taken 4. So even if he were to stick a minion, it would take like many turns, right, before he'd be able to even just catch up in fatigue.
But now he's fine. Yeah, Fled would actually have had nothing there if he'd not played the Tonk and given it to Briarthorn here. That would have been kind of entertaining. Whew. Got to admit, TJ, that was a lot closer than I thought it should or could be.
Yeah, same.
Divine Shield the Tonk and then kill the Tonk and then do some damage. I don't know how you win from here.
No, I don't think there's a way. He just needs too much time and doesn't have time because he's going to be taking 5 fatigue next turn.
That's the only one that fits the curve, I think. No, nothing happens here.
Yep, and that'll be the concede. Briarthorn realizes himself. He's now 1 game away from certain relegation, as he's now down 2-0 in the series and has to win 3 times in a row against Control Warrior, which, not the easiest task in the world. Also, you need a lot of endurance in order to complete that task. And no mistakes as well. To complete that task, and all of those things don't mix very well.
Right, yeah. Don't make mistakes. If you're going to win this, it's going to take you a good hour, maybe hour and a half even, from now. And yeah, like you say, it needs to be mistake-free, because this warrior with Cthulhu is definitely okay to beat Priest. I know we've had that discussion, but I feel that warrior with Cthulhu does beat Priest. That's my own personal feeling.
Yeah. Obviously, there's things that can go wrong, but there's a lot of creative plays that you can make. It also depends on how greedy the Control Warrior is, and like what type of Control Warrior you're running. And Flood has kind of a middle ground for it. It does have Cthulhu, right? It does have Shadowhunter Vol'jin, but there's like no Ysera, which can help make it a little bit easier. It does have the War Caches, which can help make it easier. Rattlegore is often a liability in the matchup. Playing Rattlegore is a way that you can lose, right? It almost has a detrimental effect more than it has a positive effect, because if it gets soul mirrored or copied in any way, Priest has a lot of ways to keep the Rattlegore on board and make it more difficult to remove and capitalize on it than Warrior does.
and they get another one. That's the big deal. You end up with 2 Rattlegores versus the Warriors' 1 Rattlegore, because you can copy your own Rattlegore and all that stuff as well. So that becomes ridiculous. But Briarthorn does have value in all of his decks. He has N'Zoth Paladin, he has N'Zoth in his Priest, he has Magtheridon in his own Warrior, he has his own Cthulhu in his own Warrior. He could do it. And here we go. It's 2017.
Yeah, so this is going to be interesting because for this matchup specifically, I'm pretty sure Fled has to be a favorite. They both have Cthulhu, but outside of the Cthulhu, Fled has a ton more value. The Rattlegore ends up being great in this matchup if you can find a safe turn to play it, especially if your opponent doesn't play one themselves, which you just saw. Briarthorn does not. He also has the War Caches. The one thing that could make a huge difference is that Magtheridon, right? Sometimes outside of Bladestorm, it can be hard to just straight up remove a Magtheridon that comes down early. But I feel like playing it aggressively like that is one of the only ways that you actually find use out of it, because later on in the game, you're usually not going to fall like so far behind on board where Magtheridon is going to win you the game, because this deck is not playing that many super threatening minions or ways to go wide on board as is. But we'll see. We can get into it.
They did play this. I'm just quickly looking now. Yeah, Fled won this yesterday. They opened up with... I'm glad we didn't cast yesterday, TJ. They opened up game 1 with a Priest mirror, and game 2 was a Warrior mirror. Kind of like this. And Fled won both those 2 games. So the only game that Briarthorn won was his Priest versus Fled's Paladin yesterday. But that can't happen today because the Paladin is out of the way. Fled, like we talked about earlier, he's gone with the control, but my control's bigger than your control feeling. So nicely judged, or at least it's worked out well for him here.
Yep.
I don't think I've seen a control warrior this mirror this meta, because there's not been that many of them. They've sort of dodged each other on broadcast.
Yeah, I think we've seen maybe 1 in Americas. A good amount of Priest mirrors, and a lot of control warrior games.
You say a good amount as if it's not a bad amount.
Yeah, I love Priest mirrors.
They
make me feel alive.
I genuinely like a Priest mirror once a week. I like playing them as well, but casting 3 or 4 of them in the same week gets a bit much. I agree, but yeah, I think it's quite interesting for a while. It highlights what they're both trying to do. When you know what they're both trying to do, it becomes a bit stale, obviously.
Yeah.
But Warrior mirrors, I don't really know what they're trying to do. Obviously, I assume they have to manage their fatigue to some degree.
Yep. Oh, that's a great one. Kargath Bladefist from Athletic Studies is just essentially another card in your deck for free. And I can imagine, unless Briarthorn feels like he's incredibly far behind and needs to be the aggressor in the matchup, which is very difficult. It's Control Warrior. The Corsair Cache is a kind of a dead card in hand as well. Because you usually don't want to be drawing cards.
Yeah.
In most control mirrors, unless you just have a significant deck building disadvantage.
There's a lot going on in control Priest mirrors that don't go on in Control Warriors. There's no sort of getting your stuff back and doing it all again. It's a lot more linear with the Warrior. So
yeah, you have a finite amount of resources. Fled has a little bit extra because of the War Cache, but that's also limited, right? You can't essentially go infinite with that card alone.
Right.
It can give you some good stuff, though. It can help you in the matchup.
One of the other things, obviously, is mistakes when you can't sort of generate almost infinite stuff are going to be punished a lot more as well. If somebody does have a moment and do something a bit silly, they will probably lose because of it. obviously, I say obviously, it's been a while since we've covered regular control warriors at least, but 2 minions is kind of the sweet spot, sometimes 3, to make sure that Brawl doesn't get a good value. Now, you won't see anybody go with a big wide board. There's always a feature of all warrior matches ever is tiptoeing around the Brawls, trying to force a Brawl out of their hand on a substandard board.
Yeah, honestly, tiptoeing around all of the removal. You want to make it as awkward for them to play their cards as possible. And you want to try and get more value out of each individual card that you have than they get out of their cards. Which can feel a little bit awkward, but it's... Oh, okay. I guess he can afford to do this because he put one extra card in his deck to begin with the Kargath from the Athletic Studies. So I think he's fine to draw a card there. It's also just clean removal, builds up a board behind it. Well, it has resource lead, has life lead as well. So when you feel like you're in a good position, you can afford to kind of take the risks like this.
Slight deck advantage lead as well. And something we used to find with Control Warrior mirrors as well, if somebody does draw a card or two, the other one kind of has to follow them. Otherwise they get behind.
Can take this as an opportunity to just get a Cthulhu piece out of the hand. Doesn't have a way to load up the Magtheridon on the board right now to set it up.
Rancor, right?
I mean, it won't kill any of the 1/3s.
Sure. But, fair. He's looking to set it up in some weird way. That's what the pause was about, I'm sure.
Yeah, there's just no way to do it without trying to plan for a top deck, which you can't do. All right, Kargath Prime, there it is.
Yeah, and this 10 armor is a huge deal. I mean, obviously, for anyone who's played aggro, it's a huge deal, but it's a huge deal in these mirrors. If you do end up deep in fatigue, and again, I'm not certain this match does because of the Cthulhu's, but if you do end up deep in the fatigue, having an extra 10 or 20 armor is just ridiculous. Advantage is 3 or 4 cards sometimes.
Yep.
Okay.
Got his own.
Except I can hear Raven in the background shouting, "Take the rabbit!"
What?
Would shout, yeah.
Excuse.
No, that can't be right.
I think he thought he had enough mana for it that turn. There was a slight shake of his head after he picked it and he hit over the coin. But like even...
He's got no way of dealing with the board, to be absolutely fair to him. It's the only way
the Kargath Blade Fist itself killed the Kargath Prime, and then he'd be okay leaving 6 power on board. That's not that big of a deal. He's got plenty of time in the matchup.
But the rabbit...
I mean, cool, but...
I can take the hit.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't actually know. I think maybe there's an air of resignation here from Briarthorn, to be fair.
Yeah, it can be pretty demoralizing to lose those 2 mirrors kind of back to back and then go into this one.
Yeah.
I can take the hit.
And you start seeing the road ahead as well. Like, he's got to win to this game, then he's got to win tomorrow, then he's got to win the next day. And he's capable of all of those things. We've seen him have streaks before. But if you're not careful, you start thinking how you've got to do all those things, and you're having a bad day of it already. And I'm not saying that's what's going through his mind, but at some point you've got to break, I think.
Yeah. Fled a cool 80 health, a 60 life lead here, nearly.
Yep.
I can take the hit.
All right, it's gone down to about 50 now.
So the Magtheridon only has to connect face 4 times. That's fine.
Wait, what? 4 times 12 is 80?
No, to level the scores.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm not that bad at maths. Oh my god. the spreadsheets next week.
And he snap picked that one. The heck?
I think he was dead, and I think you were right. I think he thought he could play it or something last time. Because he had no removal at the time, and he was facing a lot of damage. That's all I can...
Sure. Okay, well, I mean, he's not close to dead, right? But, you know, he could have been a card, like, one card more equalized in Battle for Fatigue.
I think his speed of play belies his thoughts. He doesn't usually play this quickly. He's not a slow player, but he's rattling the plays out here.
Well, he hopes that if he can hit his armor up button just a tiny bit faster, maybe it'll give him more armor.
That'd be good, actually. If you hit your armor button in the first 2 seconds of the turn, you get double armor.
You also have to end the turn within the first 2 seconds.
Yep.
Get 3 armor. It's a combo activator. All right, we're at that stage of the Warrior Mirror where both players just have all removal in hand. They've expended their minions. They've expended their abilities to fight for the board. And now we armor up and play a game of chicken. Who's going to break first and play the first minion?
Probably the one who hasn't 100 health, like, which currently is both of them, but not for much longer. Briarthorn is just in a terrible position here. To 3 or not to 3?
Well, he knows he's probably not drawing a card. He also doesn't have a weapon in hand, and again, probably doesn't want to draw a card.
Yeah, I don't really see the point of just randomly 3ing your opponent on turn 16, but...
I mean, you're going to have to get through that health anyway. Unless the game goes to the turn timer.
Sure. What is that, 60, is it?
Something like that. 60
Yeah.
combined turns.
We used to have to know these things, but thankfully Priest Mirrors kill each other eventually.
We still have the rule, right? It was only really relevant in Archivist Elysiana if you could delay fatigue by a large amount, right? I don't even know if it's possible unless both players are getting the maximum amount of armor each turn, but because fatigue increases every turn, then I don't think we could ever get there. But if we do, it's the combined total of health and armor once you reach turn timer that wins the game. Whichever player has the most combined total of health and armor.
Alright, so Briarthorn's behind there. He can't even draw his way out of this. If he gets Cthulhu off, he will be kind of close to recovering half of the difference. I don't know. That didn't sound as exciting as I thought it sounded in my head.
Well, that Borg ends up being a great draw because now he can dump a Corsair Cache and not have to worry about it putting him deeper in fatigue. It's the small victories.
Bladestorm to go with your Merctherodon.
Okay.
And your
I mean, it's also just
that you've already got, and your other Bladestorm that you've got. Yeah, it gives Fled something to do. Is he going to get to 100, TJ? That's the question. I think he is.
He's real close. 3 armor away.
Yeah. Exciting. That's your question earlier. Briarthorn has to lose a game of chicken, doesn't he, here? He's actually dead to Cthulhu at the moment.
Yeah.
And to Sottle.
Blood cracking the fingers.
I see.
This is really dampering Blood's ability to get to 100 armor or 100 life, which is, at this point, really the only thing I want to have come out of this game.
Yeah, definitely goes in the top 5 plays if it should happen. He's going to minefield his own minion to give no targets for Briarthorn here. Sword and board gets him close to that 100. It's not the right pick, but I can dream.
And right now, he just needs a single more armor up.
Oh, he didn't minefield. I actually thought that might be the right play.
Okay, well, he's got Cthulhu in the deck.
Nice. However will Fled deal with only taking 30? He would still be in front by so much. It's ridiculous.
Here we go. A historic moment in Hearthstone Grandmasters. 100 life.
Turn up. 100. That's it. Doesn't the game end now? It should.
Maybe it's like an achievement or something. I don't know.
Oh, it means that Mertherodon now gets played. That's what it means.
Oh.
Briarthorn has decided that at 100 he has to draw a line in the sand, and that's it. Not having any more of it.
He's like, you have 98 health. I'm good to just keep playing this game. You go to 100, that's the final straw. I can't handle it anymore. It's time to bring out the big guns. I'm playing my 12-12.
And there it goes.
A rip.
102.
Oh!
Okay.
It's incredible!
Just 30 damage. Surely he wins the game from here. Fled's like, you're Cthulhu, huh? Deals a third of my health, nearly. Well, good for you, young man.
And now he gets to gain 10 of it back. I'm really trying to find a way that Briarthorn wins, but if they're equal in fatigue and Fled just has this much more life, and Cthulhu has already been played for Briarthorn, I don't know. It has to be something crazy. It has to be Fled making an error, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to work out if Briarthorn can give like Kargath Wind Fury or something and get like 30 health or something.
How would he even get Wind Fury?
I don't know. That's your job. That's what you're good at.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't think there's a way.
Okay. That's going to really kill this Kargath. Like, it's going through the floor and out of the game.
Yeah, the war caches are just making it even more difficult. He gets another Kargath!
Seems good. I can't work it out. I can't see any way that Briarthorn can generate anything that wins.
Yeah, Ysera and then Dream and hope Fled has a full hand. Information. Oh, okay. It can be any top minion in the game.
We were lacking critical information here.
Oh, no. These aren't good.
You get accustomed.
It could have been like Mishifin.
Could have been. Here's 10 more armor, just to punish that play. Oh, no, sorry, wrong. There's so many Kargaths, I've lost track of who's who.
It'll be 10 armor at some point. Right now, it's just a measly. All right, Flood. Okay. I mean, that's a 10-10.
It is.
I'm just saying stats right now. I don't.
It's a good observation. It's keeping you awake.
Thank you.
There's more matches.
Oh, there's the Ysera. That's the last chance. Oh.
Dream is eternal.
Okay, Briarthorn. Oh, nope. He concedes. Fled takes the series 3-0. And happy for Fled, but that does mean that Briarthorn is now guaranteed to be relegated from Grandmasters. Tough way to go out. A 3-0 in kind of a grueling control versus control mirror matchup where your decks are just slightly unfavored across the board. Very tough. And of course, I've been a big fan of Briarthorn since maybe not day one. It took him a while to sell me on his play and his themes. But trying to break the meta, adding in these Briarthorn techs and these Briarthorn decks to the metagame and to Grandmasters. And I felt like we just got a lot of really cool moments out of watching him play over the past, 7 months? And so I am going to be sad to see him go.
No, I agree entirely. One of the things I've enjoyed about Americas is the richness of the different lineups and such like that we see here, and obviously the plays. He may not be the strongest player in the region, we know that, but he's put up a good fight week after week. He's not been humiliated. Like, he's got to this stage 6 times out of 7, just couldn't get the wins on stream when it mattered the most.
Yeah,
he did survive the first season.